Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. In this video I want to show you how to draft an off-shoulder bustier for a big bust. Actually, it's the same technique that is applied whether it's for a big bust or a small bust, but there's just going to be a slight difference between the two, which I'm going to explain. So for an off-shoulder, you're usually suppressing at least 4 inches from the shoulder area. So I'm going to come and mark 4 inches and raise my tape rule up by 4 inches, and it is from here that I'm going to go ahead and take all of my measurements. So I'm going to start with the bust point. Bust point is 12, under bust 17, half length 20. Sorry about the noise. So I'm going to go ahead and take this. So you can see that the measurement is not exactly according to standard measurement that will go down from the bust point by 3 inches. That's your under bust. Remember that this is a very busty person, and the bust I'm working with is a bust 44. So it can't just follow the standards. You have to work with the measurement you get. So I'm going ahead to mark that in 2 places so that I can get a straight line. So this is the bust point line. This is the under bust line. And this is the half length. This is the front half length. The half length. So that's one difference between making a bustier for a normal person without a big bust and a very busty person. You have to take the front half length and back half length into consideration. Everybody have different front and back half lengths. Especially the person have like a very flat chest like kids, but sometimes you can ignore it. When you're working with a very busty person, you have to take that into consideration. It's very important because the bust curve has taken up a lot from the half length measurement, so you have to take that into consideration. Next thing I'm going to do is to mark the shoulder. The shoulder I'm working with is 17. 17 divided by 2 is 8, so I'll go ahead and mark 8 here, and then I'll mark the armhole. Remember, they're taking up 4 inches, so that's just everything about off shoulder. I'm taking up 4 inches, and then I'm going to mark the armhole. Armhole I'm working with is 8.5. Actually, to get the bust measurement is the bust divided by 6 plus 1.5, or the shoulder divided by 2. So I'm working with the smaller one, which is 8.5. And I'm going to go ahead and also draw a straight line. Let me just mark this in 2 places as well so that I get an accurate measurement. So this is going to be very quick and straightforward. I don't want to use a voiceover for this video so that I can properly explain everything and make sure I don't omit anything. So next thing I'm going to do is to mark with, I've not drawn the shoulder line down, so it's still important to draw this shoulder line. What I'm going to do next after drawing the shoulder line is to draw out the bust span line. This bust span line is going to be from the half length to the bust point. Normally for this side you would have divided the shoulder into 2 to get it, but since the shoulder part is not there, I'm just going to use my intuition for this. But you can actually draw the line straight. I personally don't like doing that. I've come to realize that dividing the shoulder into 2 to connect gives a better fitting. So I'm just going to slant the line a bit slightly, and then I'll connect this straight. So this is not a corset, so I do not have to come up from the chest line. This is an off shoulder bustier, so the dart is going to start from this off shoulder point, from where I've taken off from the shoulder to meet this place, and then the one at the under bust to come and meet this place. So I don't have to start saying let me draw, come up from the chest line by so inches, none of that. Okay, so I have this. What I'm going to do next is the under bust suppression and the upper bust suppression. Let me start with the under bust suppression. So the maximum you can take off from this under bust point, so coming towards the center front, this side is 1 inches. Anything more than that is going to be looking weird by the time they are done. It's not, this place is very slim inside, so people usually divide their measurements into two. Say you're using 3 inches, you take 1.5 inch here, 1.5 inch here, but it's not going to help you to give a well-fitted curve, to get a well-fitted curve here to hold the bust very firm. So maximum from here, we always advise 1 inch, but I usually use 0.75. Some people use half of an inch. Some people don't even take half from this part at all, but I feel like I still have to take from here, so I'm going to use 0.75 inch here. Okay, 0.75 inches out. So for the rest, for this side, you can take 1 inch, 1.5 inch, or 2 inches, depending on how busty the person is. But since I'm working with a bust 44 and I want the curve to be very obvious, to be able to fit well, I'm going to use 2.2. so that is giving a total of what, 3 inches if I mark it on the tape rule. So that is 3 inches in total. You see that I'm going to have a very nice curve at the end of the day. And then for this side, because this is coming direct from this shoulder line, I'm just going to call this the shoulder line. I can't just take out something small, because by the time it gets to this point, the curve will not form anymore. So I'm going to use 2 inches. Standard for the upper part is 1.5 inch. You don't need to take out something too much, because the upper part of the bust is not as curvy as the lower part, which is why we're taking out a lot from here and less from here. So I'm going to use 2 inches, or let me make it 2.2. So for this side, I'll use 0.75 inch, and since I want this to be 2.2 in total, I'll just place the 2.2 here and mark the rest. So before I connect this, I'm going to come from here, mark half of an inch on top, half of an inch below the bust point line. So this is where I'm going to stop whatever I'm connecting. This will help to prevent any sharp edges. So for the upper part, when you're connecting, always use a straight ruler. Always use a straight ruler. I'm going to connect straight. Okay. Can you guys see the way this place is slant? That's because of the line is not straight. So this is going to give a very nice curve. So for this side, you have to use a curved ruler. So guys, after connecting everything, I'm just going to connect from here straight down and from here straight down as well. After doing that, the next thing to do is to take the round measurements. I'm going to start with the bust. This will be the bust divided by 4, and it's the same thing I have at the bust that I'm going to take at the chest line. Note that I will not be replacing what has been taken off. at the chest line. I'm just going to take my exact chest line measurement. The only place I'll be replacing what has been taken out is at the waist. So I'm going to take the waist measurement and then I will replace the suppression I took at the underbutt. So I'll measure it and add it back. Then from there, I'll just use a straight line to connect all of the points. So I'm just doing this in a way that the line won't be looking red. So I just had to ignore the space, the points there, because if I connect it this way and then bring it this way, it will look somehow. So I'm just going to ignore that point and connect a straight line from the chest line to the half length line. The next thing to do is to draw the armhole curve. Normally, when drafting the armhole curve for a full-scale bodice block, you would go in from the midpoint of the armhole by 1/2 inch, which is what is here. But because I have taken out a lot from this particular line, I will not be going in by 1/2 inch. I will just draw the armhole curve directly on the line. So this is how I'm going to place my ruler, and then I'll draw the armhole curve. So what I'm going to do next is to take the side dart. This side dart is the difference between the front half length and the back half length. The front half length is 20 and the back half length is 18. So remember I said that this is another important thing that you have to take off when working with a big bust to get a nice fitting. So I'm going to come and mark that 2 inches and connect. I'm going to connect this straight to the bust point. So this is it. All of this is to be taken out. So guys, the next thing to do is to draw the straight half neckline. This is the chest line, and so from this chest line I'll just mark 2 inches and then draw a curve from here. Very nice. The cleavages won't be exposed this way. So guys, next thing I want to explain to you guys is this. If I measure this line here, you can see that this line is curved, so obviously it's longer than this one, so there's going to be a difference. So when I measure this one, I'm getting 13, but when I measure this one, 10, 11, 12, 13, you can see that there is a difference. So one thing I can do, you can see, I can decide to cut from here and just take this way, but I don't want to do that because that will further take from this upper part. So what I need to do to correct what is going on here is to add another piece of paper to the top. I'm going to now use it to correct the difference. And then we draw the line. I don't want it to have so much bulk, so I'm going to thin it out. By the time you want to join, this side is going to shift downwards. It will shift down a bit, but that doesn't really mean, since this entire side is straight. Okay, because where this is actually coming from, where the shortage is coming from, is from this side and this side. Let me show you. This is 5. This is almost 6. You can see the majority of the shortage is coming from this curve. So that is why this bust point will shift a bit. So what I'm going to do next is to close this side dart. So this is how it's going to get closed. Like this. But obviously I can't close it like that. To be able to close one dart, you have to open another one. So what I'm going to do is smash this place open. Smashing it, it's going to be very easy to close it. So this gap is not really difficult to close up. And by the way, one thing that I haven't mentioned is this that was taken out. Some people will be wondering that she took this off, isn't she supposed to replace it? But just listen to what I want to explain. The reason why this is being taken out is to form a cup. And the reason why we can form a cup is what is there, because there's already an excess. If you take your basic bodice block and you cut your exact basic bodice block and put on your body, there will be excesses at the chest area. So when you take that off, that is when you form a cup. So it's the excess we are taking out. Replacing it back is not ideal. You don't need to replace anything back, okay? Because then this place, you notice that this place will be looking too bulky. It's going to end up looking very bulky at the end of the day, because that is the whole idea of taking out this, to get rid of excesses, and it is still going to fit. So that's not even anything to worry about. So what I'm going to do is to fill in the gap here. That's what I'm going to do next. So to do that, I'll just connect from here back to the armhole or to the chest line. Okay guys, we're almost done with this. What I'm going to do next is to add my seam allowance. I like to add seam allowance at the side seam allowance on the paper itself. Then the rest of the allowance I can add when I'm cutting on my fabric. I'm just holding this place down so I can get something accurate. I'm using 2 inches seam allowance for this. 2 inch. Now connect it. So with this, I'm done. I'm going to go ahead and just cut out everything. So this is what I'm saying. After joining these two, you can see that the bust points have shifted a bit. As no, don't worry about that. It's still going to fit right. Just showing you guys. And in the end, everything is going to fit. See. So that's just it. That's just how it is going to be. And also, if I measure what is here, and I decide to measure it as it is on my client, from her chest, from the middle of her chest down towards the armhole, you see that it's not that much at all. So there's no need to come and be adding to this side. So I'm just going to go and cut. So this is everything on how to draft a bustier, an off-shoulder bustier for a big bust. two main things to take into consideration for a big bust is what you're suppressing at the under bust and the side or bust dart. Side bust dart. Okay. So this is it. So I'm going to move on to the back pattern. The back pattern is not complicated. The only difference is that you have to use the back half length of 18 and not 20, then taking your dart, and that's it. But I'm just going to demonstrate it for you guys to see. So let's get on with that. For the back pattern, I'm going to also cut off 4 inches from all of my measurements. Then I'll go ahead and mark the chest line. My chest line is 8.5 inches. Then I'll also mark the bust point. I will not be needing the under bust measurement here, so I'm going to skip that. And then I will mark the half length. Remember, it is the back half length I am using, which is 18, as compared to the front half length, which is 20 inches. So I'm going to mark the back half length, and I'm also going to mark this in 2 places to make sure that I get a straight line. Then I'll go ahead and connect everything. After that, the next thing I'm going to do is to mark out the zip allowance. I'm using 2 inches for my zip allowance, and my ruler is exactly 2 inches wide. So I'm just going to use my ruler to mark out the zip allowance. So guys, from this line here, which I have drawn out for the zip allowance, I'll go ahead and take all of my body measurements, starting with the shoulder. The shoulder I'm working with is 17. 17 divided by 2 is 8.5. So I'll go ahead and mark 8.5 here. Then I will also take the bust measurements at the bust point line. What I have at the bust is what I'll also take at the chest line. I skipped that, but I went back to mark it. So for the half length, I'm going to take the waist roundness plus dart allowance. I usually use 1.5 inch for my dart allowance, so I'm going to add 1.5 inch to my waist measurements. The standard is actually 1 inch for dart allowance, but I prefer to use 1.5 inches. So I'm going to add that. After adding that, I have to add an additional 1/2 inch to the waist measurement. Now this is because I'm taking out 1/2 inch from the zip allowance here to get rid of zip bug. So that have to be replaced. For that reason, I'm going to go ahead and mark an extra 1/2 inch here. Then I'll use a ruler to connect all of the points together. After doing that, I'll go ahead and mark the seam allowance of 2 inches. Since this line is straight, I can use the ruler to just mark out the 2-inch seam allowance. Then I'll also draw the armhole curve. So guys, at this point, I am almost done with drafting this back pattern. Everything has been drawn out already. The next thing that has to be taken out is the darts, and in order to do that, I have to first of all draw out the bust span. Bust span is 8 divided by 2 will give me 4. So the bust span for the back is from the chest line to the half length, while for the front is from the bust point to the half length. So please take note. I marked this at the chest line and at the half length, and I'm just going to connect everything together. But one thing you should notice is that if you intend to divide this pattern paper, you're going to draw the bust span all the way to the top. Like if you want to have 2 pieces for the back, you are going to have to extend the bust span line all the way to the top. And that is what I did, because I want this to be in 2 separate pieces. But if you don't want to cut the back pattern at all, then it will stop at the chest line. So guys, I've gone ahead to take the dart. Remember I said the dart allowance is 1.5 inches. 1.5 inch divided by 2 will give 0.75. So I took that on both sides from the bust span line. And then at this zip allowance point, I marked 1/2 inch. This is to eliminate zip bug. Remember that I already added this 1/2 inch back to the waist measurement. So from here, I'm just going to take it out, and with that, I'm going to be able to get rid of zip bug. So there's one more thing that's usually done to get rid of zip bug. The first thing, there are 3 ways to get rid of zigzag. The first is by taking this out. The second way is by coming in from the center back by 1 inch or half of an inch. But since I've already taken out this half of an inch from the center back, and I've also taken out the side dart, I'm going to be using just half of an inch for this. But if you don't want to take this half of an inch vertically from the center back, then you can use 1 inch. So I'm going to mark half of an inch from here, and then I'm going to connect this back into the half length line. So the 3 ways to get rid of zigzag is to first of all take the side dart into consideration, because if you use the front half length for the back half length, the back is surely going to be bulging out. So that is the first way to get rid of zigzag. Then the second thing to do is to take out this half of an inch that I took from the zip allowance. And then the third way is to take another half of an inch from the half length line, just like you can see me doing. So I incorporated all 3 of them into this, and with this I'm going to be very sure that the back is going to lay very flat once I'm done sewing. So all of these parts I have marked is going to be cut off. What I'm doing now is checking what I have on both sides of the dart, if it is equal, since I have cut off from it. So this is called truing. Truing is when you have to confirm that the 2 places you're going to join together is equal, so that one doesn't get shorter than the other. So what I have was like equal, so I didn't have to add anything back to any of the darts. At this point, I'm done with drafting the back pattern. You can go ahead and cut this out if this is what you want. But I want to make the back to also have a sweetheart neckline. So I'm going to come to the top of the pattern and mark half of an inch below this shoulder line. I'm calling this the shoulder line, by the way. So I'll come and mark half of an inch. And first of all, connect a straight line from there into the zip allowance. The sweetheart neckline I'm going to form, we will not start from the zip allowance, it will be after the zip allowance. So I have to first of all mark a straight line through that zip allowance, then from there I will form the curve to meet with the bust span line. And with that, I'm done with drafting the back pattern. I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out. So this is everything on how to draft an off-shoulder bustier pattern for a big bust. And note that this technique works for any bust size. It works for basically any kind of off-shoulder that you want to do. The only emphasis is on the side dart. It's important to take out the side dart, and what you suppress from the under bust also matters a lot. The final thing I'm going to do when drafting this pattern is to check that the side of both the front and the back aligns properly. Okay, so I'm going to place the side of the front and the side of the back, and you can see that the back is looking longer than the front. So I'm going to go ahead and trim off that excess from the back pattern. So guys, that's everything on how to draft an off-shoulder bustier pattern. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching this far. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.